So, we often in business or ministry, as those that are Christ centered, hit a wall. And I wanted to speak on what that wall looks like because many of you, like myself, we are fasting, we are praying, we are going through this whole process thinking that, you know, um, we're going to break through. We're going to break through. I remember many times it would almost feel like this dangling carrot. Like I would go to a next prophetic talk or convention, or I would go to another, um, revival, or I would go into another standing in another line to get my hands laid on me in prayer and all these things because I was thinking to myself, what is going on? Why am I not getting breakthrough in business, ministry, life, in certain these areas? And I'm thinking, what many think is I need to pray more and fast more, and I need to go to war. I need to break generational curses and eliminate trauma and all of these things. What was so interesting, though, is as I got more experience in business and I got more known in business, and in ministry, I started mentoring others, and I would notice that they would be, six or seven or sometimes even eight-figure income earners, and they would have built financially, but they would have still had the very thing that I thought was holding me back. They might not have had a strong prayer life. They might not have been fasting like they needed to. They still had trauma. And so it actually eliminated and took away a lot of my excuses, if not all of my excuses. And so I remember that my prayers felt like they were hitting the wall. It was constant. And I was thinking yesterday was Christmas, and today is, like a Christmas day, like a Christmas day after, right? But it was so interesting. I'm not a big one proponent to celebrate Christmas. I think a lot has changed. But I was wondering for the new year, like, what are we going to do for this new year? How, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, can I pour in? And what is it going to look like for everybody? And I realized that so many were doing this very thing when I was just kind of looking over what business looked like and what my students were dealing with over time, because they were amazingly anointed, talented, gifted. You're probably like that too, right? And so I wanted to share that with you and then also give you this one thing that really helped me break through. And so, one of those things was I did just enough. Like, have you ever done just enough to break through, or to break through and have these little wins that make you feel like you're actually running a business? And what does that mean? For me, that means like looking at that you're working on 80% of your business instead of being in the 20, right? And so 80% of your time is all on the little remedial tasks, a lot of the administration and that type of thing. And I realized that I was hiding behind that because if I really made that 20%, if I really delegated all those administrative tasks and focused strictly on the task at hand, which was to build the organization that I was building, or write the book, or to do whatever it was that I knew that I was called to do, then I would have to actually face that. And so, maybe you're the same. And I noticed that I would just stay stuck on this hamster wheel. But it made me feel like I was still doing business because remember, I said it was just enough. Now, what did this actually look like? Well, um, it made me stay in hobby mode as well. Okay, so number one is just doing just enough. Working, meaning 80% of what you do is not even income producing. 80% of what you do is, not even really that effective. It's not even really getting you the clientele, but it's making you feel like you're in business. And so it could be really tricky, like really tricky. And then the other part was I would say yes to God, and I'm like, yes, Lord. I, be worship and prayer and do all those things. And I never really looked at my business as a business. I operated it as a hobby. I showed up as a hobby. My lifestyle made it look like a hobby. Everything about it was hobby. And again, a lot of that can also be due to you staying in your 80%, which is all the other distracting tasks that can make you feel like you're doing something and you're really not. And so that allowed me, when I did all those things, that allowed me to justify through fear, like justify what I was doing. And there was an underlying fear. And so I would self sabotage. I would grow just enough and self sabotage. Why did I do that? So maybe you're different. Maybe you have something different. But the thought process, I wanted to be successful financially and mentally, physically, health wise, all those things. But what I noticed is, hey, if you are attractive and feminine, you can get taken advantage of. If you're attractive and feminine, you can't really show your intellect. So this is a lot of society, precepts, right? I was raised with, if you have to work harder, and you're not going to really get ahead if you are, you're a minority, you're attractive, and you're a woman. And so it was like, So I remember letting myself get really, really overweight and unhealthy and probably not dressing very feminine and all that. But my heart's desire was like, oh my gosh, this is not how I want to be. I want to do this and do that. And I want to feel sexy and all those things. And so it went totally against my nature. So I was struggling like really, really hard through that process, because I was feeling like in order to be recognized intellectually that I had to forget all of my physical. The other thing that was really big was that made me look at my business and everything as a hobby and stay in that 80% was the fact that I saw that those that made a certain amount of money at a certain point, they would get divorced, or that was my experience, right? They would not be happy. They would be dealing with a whole bunch of other things. And it just didn't seem like it was a very good thing. So I equated having financials with, an intellect and all of the giftings and things that I was really good at, the building and all of that, as something totally different than what it truly is. And it's kind of like that whole saying of the root of evil is money, like that type of thing. It's like, wait, what? um, it's not having money is going to make you evil, right? And so I don't know if you can always comment below. I'd love to, hear your engagements, but those are things that I dealt with. And I knew that in 2024, this could not happen. And I'm thinking about like my students, I'm thinking about things that I hear from people, and this is what I hear. And I thought to myself, okay, we need to change this. So, number one, I want you to look at what you are called to do and how you want to do it. Do you want to write books? Do you want to be on stages and speak? Do you want to do course creation? What is that? There's no wrong answer. You can see that there's so much out there. There's not a wrong answer. And I want you to also remember that the church really does teach that everything is warfare. Everything is not warfare. You don't have to and go crazy at everything every single minute of the day. You're going to get tired. You need to choose your battles very wisely. The enemy is going to wear you down. I promise you. It happens every single time. And so what you want to look at is, yes, you're going to pray. Yes, you're going to fast, but I want you to forget all the other stuff. I want you to do this to be intimate with the Lord. I want you to do this to have a relationship with the Lord. Okay? So you're not going to fast for an outcome. You're not going to study to teach it. You're not going to pray because you're going through something. I want you to put all of that aside. The Word of God says, put aside everything that so easily besets you, right? So let's just put all that aside and let's just focus on the intimacy with the Lord. Okay? You don't have to try to prove yourself. You just enjoy the presence. And with that, in that state, I want you to allow yourself to just dream. Write down exactly what you're wanting to do in your business or ministry at whatever stage or phase that you're in. It doesn't really matter if you're expanding, if you're looking at trading, whatever that looks like for you. I want you to do that. Then I want you to look at it that you are not in a hobby. Your unique perspective and ability somebody needs. So you are not in a hobby. I want you to look at it as an actual business that you're doing. When you look at it from that perspective, just like you would work for anybody else, I want you to look at it like that. And when you do that, you're going to take a little bit more of a seriousness. You're going to then look at, what do you need to do to make this company successful? What is that mission that you have? I want to change the education system. I want to change the way that we do things, the way that we teach, the way that we operate, the way that we build. And so, what does that look like, right? What does it look like for me? Well, one, I had to lose weight. I had to be healthy. I had to take a look at things that were holding me back, relationships, judgments, all of those different things. I've learned to even just now, if somebody starts to kind of go off or if somebody says certain things, I'm just like, oh, okay. And I really don't fight back with them because, that's what they want. They want me to argue back and forth with them. And I just don't want to put the energy into that anymore, right? Because that's a form of proving yourself. And you got to get to the point where you're not always trying to prove your value or your worth to someone. And so I think this is a lot of the stuff that, believers go through because the church will teach certain concepts and precepts. And I believe that we try to throw all of the weapons that we have at a situation as opposed to asking God, what is the weapon for this situation? And whenever you're looking at this as in business, what you're looking at launching your ministry or however that may be, look at it as you have an actual business or ministry that is going to transform the area of influence, the people that you're called to. The other thing is you're going to make your 80% of what you do your 20%. Oh, yeah. So that means you're going to delegate a lot of that and you're going to make whatever is your 20%, like those things that you should be working on, building in your business, launching your books or courses or whatever needs that ultimate attention. I want you to take that and I want you to make that your 80%. So every day, what you're functioning on, what you're doing, how you're operating, you're going to make that your 80%. The 20%, yes, you're going to have meetings, connect, and do a lot of those things, and that's great, but you're also going to delegate a lot of your administration. If you want to have some really great resources to get some assistants and administrators, you can put administrate or admin in the chat, and I will make sure that I come back, or one of my assistants will come back and make sure that they get you the resources for that. The other thing is the 80-20. If you're interested in how to make your 20% your 80 in this 2024, I want you to go ahead and put in the chat 80-20. So I know that you are interested, and I'll make sure that I get you all of those resources as well. And I keep training you and teaching you on that. If you're not already connected to my YouTube, go to Tanya Tenica. That's where all of my lives go, and as well as my weekly trainings and things like that that might not be live, but I post them there. So from this point, you're going to want to make that 20%, that focus, that goal, right? So if you're saying, okay, I want to have I'm going to scale my company or expand my company. What is it going to take to do that, right? What does that look like for you? Once you actually have that, this is the secret here. What I want you to do then is take what you're going to do, what that looks like, that goal, and I want you to break it down into 4 sections, 4 steps, I guess you could say. And you're going to carry that out and you're going to allocate for the first 3 months, you're going to Now, a lot of times they're going to stack on top of each other. So by the time you're done with the fourth phase, you would have already completed your goal. So you're going to break it down. So you're the first quarter of the month, January, February, March, right? You're going to work on just those things that are supposed to be for the first quarter, right? You're going to get all that stuff situated. And guess what? You're then going to be able to see that that's the good foundation for the second quarter. And so now when you transition over, you know exactly every single time what you're working with, right? Every single time. And you're going to incorporate a lot of your rest days. You're going to incorporate your work days. I know that I like to have a like a flex week, and that's a week that I do at the end of every month. We don't have classes. We don't have I don't usually have appointments. I don't do any of that. And I just sit there and I take a look at my numbers. I take a look at the financials. I take a look at my tasks and where I'm at and my growth. And I really just strategize and make sure that I am staying on task. A lot of times we create this goal, losing weight or whatever, but we don't actually incorporate it into our lives. And so I want to challenge you to do that. Go ahead and break down what you are called to do into 4 different phases for this new year. And you're going to see that it's going to be phenomenal because you're going to know exactly what to work on. And then at that point, you even know whether you need to continue working on it or do you need to delegate the rest. I know there's a lot of times, like for instance, I have a system that I'm launching with my program, School of Activation. And so with that, I will do the foundational base, right? There's a lot of things that I'm going to need to do myself because I'm thinking through the process and I'm getting those worked out. But once I'm done with that aspect, I can then scale it and grow it by hiring, the team to do some of the administrative stuff when that comes to that point of time, right? So the first quarter, I might be really launching that and getting all of that kind of work together, have my assistants work on some of the copy and little things like that I might not, be able to look at. And then now I can like review it and go through it. But by phase 2, which is second quarter, I'm already saying, okay, I need to go ahead and delegate. Now that we have a foundation, this all needs to be delegated out so I can go to this next phase. Do you see how that works? Okay. And I'm looking at having like a live event at the end of the year, right? So these are certain phases in order to get there. So whatever you need to do, that's what I want you to focus on. Making your 20% your new 80%. You're going to see that it's going to change the game. All right. Now, making sure that, yes, you're dealing with those limiting beliefs and all of that, you definitely want to address that, right? If you have an issue with multimillionaires, then you're going to have an issue becoming a multimillionaire. If you think that they're shady, that they're always trying to, override taxes and that they're always dishonest and all of that other stuff, I promise you, you are not going to get there because you're judging the very thing that you're going towards, just like I was doing. I was judging the very journey that I was going on by the experiences of other people, saying that, guess what? If I'm successful, and if I'm feminine in nature, and if I dress nice, and I'm simple, and those things that I really desire to be, like a high value woman, that I'm not going to be respected, I'm not going to be honored, I'm not going to be appreciated. And that if I make a certain amount of income, it's going to end in hurt and pain and divorce and arguing and all of these things. And I saw that many other people had it in the industry and it was healthy. But then you would find, when you're looking at the entertainment realm or in some other areas of influence, that you would get some other stories. And I wasn't happy with that. And I didn't want that. So it stopped me in many areas. So you definitely want to go ahead and think about that aspect, okay? Please definitely think about that aspect. But the key here is going to be believe that you have a gift that others need and be serious with it. Stop playing games, stop playing hobby, make it a business. If you're not registered, register your business. If you don't have an accountant, find somebody that can do your accounting. If you need to record some of your things in QuickBooks, start doing that, right? If you need to get a bank account, a business bank account, get a business bank account. Start doing the very things that you need to do that help you understand that it's a serious thing. If it looks like you dressing nicer, losing the weight, any of those things, getting healthy, all of that, you're going to see a consistency with high income earners, those that, are really about their game. They're serious about what they're doing. They take their life serious. They take their body seriously. And so you're going to want to definitely be able to do that. And I want you to do that. I want you to reach your goals. It's really important. So again, you're going to make your 20%, your 80%, right? So everything that you're looking to do in 2024, the main goal that you are wanting to accomplish, put that at the top and then break that down into 4 phases so you can take them quarter by quarter. All right. Well, God bless, and definitely connect with me. Follow me definitely on YouTube at Tanya Tenica. You're definitely going to be able to get all of my videos and my uploads and everything there, live streams and regular teachings that I do. And you can also go to tanyatenica.com to connect with me as well.